It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, burn the bone, getting high, getting shook. Watch all your bones, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's easy to do one night stands. Try being a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, everybody. It's your host, Caden Rife. Welcome back. It's 2007 here from the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series as we start another new season, and it's a big one. Here in the first season of the Gen 5 in 2007. Pleasure to have you along, as always, as we get this season started. We're here under the lights at Daytona for the Budweiser Shootout, everyone's favorite exhibition race, or at least one of them. But we're getting ready to go here tonight. 22 cars is your field size for tonight's race, and we are all, as always, thrilled to have you back and ready to be back at the racetrack, as always. Nate joining me in the booth tonight. And starting on pole in tonight's race, it's the defending champion, Robbie Gordon, in the 31 car with some new colors, the rebrand AT&T. On the hood of that 31 car for tonight and the full season, he starts from first after winning last year's championship. Joining him on the front row, bit of a surprise face, it's the 84 of David Reagan who's doing this one race. Bit of a shakedown for Red Bull as they take the Talladega 2 pole sitter to start on the front row for tonight's race. He starts in P2 side by side with Gordon on the front row. Looking down the rest of the starting lineup for tonight's race, Kyle Busch will start from the third position in the 43 car, and Elliott Sadler right behind his teammate in fourth. That's the 83 machine in the back there. Starting in P5, Ryan Newman in the 38, making the switch over to Yates and their stable, and Casey Atwood still in the 30. He's in sixth position. Seventh place, another swap, Casey Kane in the 12. He starts seventh for Penske in his first race for that team in the Alltel Pontiac. Eighth place, Kevin Harvick in the number 20 car again this year. Martin Truex Jr. in the 28 machine this season as well. He moves over to Yates with Newman, and he starts in the 9th position. 10th belongs to rookie Brad Keselowski, as he had himself quite a couple poles last season, qualifies him into this show. 11th place, Jimmy Johnson in the 48, familiar face, and Greg Biffle will be in the 16 in 12th spot. Scott Wimmer in P13, that's still for Bill Davis in the 23 car. Carl Edwards makes a swap this season. He is in the 19 in P number 14 for Joe Gibbs Racing. 15th is going to be Jason Leffler in the 00, and 16th place belongs to Tony Stewart in the 42 car. Kurt Busch, his teammate behind, in 17th, and Bobby Labonte in the 18th position. 19th, that'll be Jeff Gordon in the 24. Matt Kenseth is P20. Brian Vickers in the 44, winner of this race last year. He's in 21st. And Jeffrey Bodine, a Daytona 500 winner, qualifies last on speed. He's 22nd in the 7 for new Cup entry Germain Racing. And that rounds out your truncated field for the Bud Shootout here tonight. 32 laps is your race length as we get set to roll to start off the fresh new season. Take it trackside for the most famous words in motorsports, the command here from Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
Stock cars roar to life for the first time, and the Gen 5 roars to life for the first time. Here tonight, 32 laps is your race length. Long pace lap to get this thing started. A lot of changes, a lot of things different going into this season. New generation of stock cars we have mentioned over and over and over. A lot of drivers making big swaps. We talk about Newman in the 38 car. Casey Kane swaps out of that ride. He goes to Penske. Got a lot of new faces in new places this year, Nate.
Absolutely, and as with any new season, these guys who have joined different teams or are starting their Cup Series careers, at least in a full-time capacity, this is a really good opportunity to try to get acclimated as best you can to not only super speedway racing, but how it feels to handle a Cup car, in a small field and not a whole lot of pressure. So look for some guys with a lot to lose to be very, very aggressive in this race, and look for some also to run pretty quietly as well.
Yeah, it's always a shakedown session at this racetrack, especially in this race. You want to try and get acclimatized. You want to figure out what the deal is with your car. And of course, it's a good test session for a lot of these guys going into the main points race next Sunday. And we see a lot of these drivers really just try to learn what their cars are going to do. And of course, it's the #1 session to get yourself settled in with your new team. We see a couple new teams on the grid, of course. Germain with the 7 car entered into this race, the 84 for Red Bull as well, driven by David Reagan. That'll be driven by Juan Pablo Montoya, the rookie full-time this year in the 84 machine, coming over from F1 to drive that car, but he will be there at Daytona in the points race. But for now, we start the 2007 season. The Bud Shootout is underway. Gordon Reagan to lead the field, and we are green here from Daytona. Into turn 3 for the first time here tonight. Door to door, the 2 leaders is Robbie Gordon up to speed on the bottom. And the 31 car from the pole is into the race lead off of turn number 4, taking Kyle Busch in the 43 with him, 2 wide throughout the whole field. Gordon trying to float up a little bit and force the 84 high, and he will lead the opening lap.
And don't get it twisted, as much as we were talking about, potentially having some guys take it easy and some be aggressive, there's still a trophy on the line, and there's still a major cash prize to the winner. So you're still going to want to go for the checkered flag, but definitely, look for these guys to see, at least in the early going in this race, what their cars are going to do, how to tackle it, because this is the first time that these guys have been on the racetrack in this new generation of car in a field of cars. This is a really good opportunity to start, testing the waters a little bit. Try to see how it handles as opposed to the old car, but also try to get up to some guys' bumpers. See how you can push. See if you can try to pull away a little bit. There's always going to drive differently when you get a new package, and especially when you get a new car.
Without a question, and we see these guys, we've heard a lot about them and what they've said. We talked to a lot of veterans, a lot of rookies, what they think of this new car. One thing that these drivers have said a lot, one, this car is a lot less aerodynamic than the Gen 4 was in the later years. The Gen 4 really got optimized. We see these cars are a lot more blocky than the Gen 4 was. A little bit of a heavier nose on them as well. These cars weigh a lot more than they did last year. And also worth mentioning, one thing that these guys have noticed in practice coming up to this race, you can push a lot more. The nose of these race cars is really flat compared to what it was on the Gen 4, especially at these plate tracks. It is a lot easier to bump draft. We see these guys get a little bit closer in these races now, and they could potentially see a lot more pushing in the races to come. Of course, the duels and the Daytona 500 all to come next week. And these guys could get a little more aggressive. We see them really trying to push, but it's a little bit less of an agile car, of course, as mentioned there. These things weigh more than they did last year. So it's really just a new mix. Everything is different. We've said we've seen said by a lot of different drivers, and it's been really exciting to see these guys get used to this new car.
Absolutely, and having momentum from last season is so important, but we'll see how much of it actually is able to translate into this season, because it's just such an even playing field at the start of a new car. We see it every time the generation changes. The playing field gets evened a little bit. And I think it opens the door for a lot of guys to potentially, grab a win, do something in their careers that they haven't been able to do yet. I look at a guy like Scott Wimmer going for the lead right now. I look at Elliott Sadler. Guys like them, for example, came so close in the past to being able to win races, but haven't been able to break through quite yet. This could be a really good opportunity for them early in the going with this new car to break through, grab that win, and potentially find some momentum.
Without a question, there is no opportunity like the present, and we rarely ever see a chance like this for these drivers with a new set of regulations into this year. Scott Wimmer, 23 car year race leader. Kurt Busch in the 01, last year's runner-up in the points, sits second in line. Couple of dodges up front as Busch will try to take the lead away. C3 wide for the first time as Jason Leffler gets filtered up to the top. Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car in the middle. Truex follows him. A little bit of a stack up in the mid-pack here.
I'll tell you what, that 44 of Vickers and that 7 of Jeffrey Bodine started at the back of this field. They are already 6 laps in, up into the top 5. So both of those cars looking very good early in this race.
Absolutely. See the 24 of Jeff Gordon trying to take the lead away. Vickers might take his teammate 3 wide here. Isn't able to get the nose underneath, so he'll stick in line. 24, new colors on that race car, although we're told we'll get at least one more variation of the paint scheme on that 24 car this year. Seeing a lot of guys running a couple different variations of their cars. 43, Kyle Busch, back there in the back of the screen right there, as he is in the NOS car this week. That team has an STP primary contract, but NOS has signed on for a couple of primary races on that machine. We see a lot of these guys starting to run differing colors in these years to come, and quite a lot of sponsorship deals. We see more sponsorship now in the Cup Series than we really ever have before this.
Absolutely, and we see it for some major companies as well. Guys that you wouldn't really consider to be, fits for NASCAR in the past. And it's really cool to see some of these guys come on and sponsor these race cars, get these drivers' names out there, because sponsorship is such an important part of racing, and being able to find that for some of your stars is very important.
Absolutely, and we see a lot of it this year. Jeff Gordon still leading over Biffle, who now has his teammate behind him, 16-17. Biffle and Kenseth. Organizational changes, and a lot of them for Roush going into this year. We saw how last year really turned into a disaster for that team. It was a real struggle. Pretty much went winless. They went winless all the way until the last race of the year, and it was Greg Biffle in this 16 car that won the one and only race for Roush in the Cup Series. It was at Homestead to finish out that season, and they made a lot of changes coming into this year. Jack said, it's tough to have to downsize. We really want to run as many cars as we can, give as many opportunities to our drivers as we can, but it had to be done. 16 and 17 are the only 2 full-time cars for that team this year, when they had 5 of them last season, as early as the first third or so of the season, first 2/3. It was the 6 car that was the first to shutter. We saw the 99 has been liquidated into PPC. That's the 10 car going to be driven by JJ Yaley this year, Cup rookie. And Carl Edwards left the team and went on to join Joe Gibbs Racing. You see him 4th in line in the 19 car there. Got his teammate in the 20 right behind him, as those guys are making some moves up front, while Matt Kenseth tries to take the lead. But 17 and 16 are the only 2 full-time teams for Roush this year. They do have the 6 car still. That team is going to be part-time this year, running a handful of races for Scott Steckley, who joined that team to run full-time in the Busch Series. A lot of Canada drivers coming over, but the subject is Roush, and it is a much different-looking Roush this year.
One of the Roush refugees, Carl Edwards, looking for the lead here, was driving that 97 car last season, was not able to grab a win, had a couple of very strong showings, however. For Carl, it hasn't been the career that he's hoped for up to this point. Has got a couple wins in his career. He's done a good job, but the equipment just really hasn't been there. This is the opportunity for him, though. This is the best opportunity that he has had in his career. And if Carl is going to make that jump to be a championship contender, this is a really good chance.
It is always fantastic to see a talented driver get a good seat, and we got a good chance to talk to Carl and that team that he has been a part of now, Joe Gibbs Racing, 19 McDonald's Chevrolet for that team. A brand new entry this year, although partially liquidated. That was in collaboration with Haas CNC, the team that Joe Gibbs has been affiliated with over the last couple years. But we got the chance to talk to Carl prior to this race and prior to Speed Weeks, and we asked him what the outlook is on this season, what your plans are, and all he had to say to us was, "I'm ready."
Short, simple, to the point. He knows what he wants this season, and he's talented enough to go out there and get it.
Just a single Cup Series win to his name was at Richmond in 2004, looking to get a win after going winless the last couple seasons. And it is no better chance for him. Got his teammate leading the race right now. That's Kevin Harvick in the 20, who has really settled in well with his Gibbs team. Already had a fantastic year last year. We mentioned it over and over and over again. Led the series in top 10s and top 5s. Had a fabulous season in that 20 car and looking to build upon it this year now that he's settled into that team.
Absolutely, and I would say he might have been the most consistent driver out of everybody at the end of last season, but just wasn't really in a position to challenge for the championship at that point. He's carrying over some crazy momentum, and as we said, momentum might not carry over too much in this car, but if it was going to carry over for anybody, Kevin Harvick is in a fantastic position to go out and grab a championship.
Without a question, and you talk about organizational development, Joe Gibbs does it like nobody else in this entire series. They have such a well-rounded team of drivers. They have such a well-rounded team of engineers and staff and coaches. Their team is nothing short of fantastic, and there's a reason that they have continually been at the top of the grid for the better part of 10, 15 years. And Kevin Harvick proving exactly why as he continues to lead this race. He's got Kyle Busch in the 43 behind him. Bit of a diverse top 5 right now. 43, 83, 31, and 12 in line behind the 20. The leader of Kevin Harvick as Kyle Busch in the Dodge. Going to duck to the bottom to try and take the lead away from Harvick here.
And they're going to follow Kevin Harvick up to the top of the racetrack. Defending champion Robbie Gordon going to go with Kyle Busch, push him out to the race lead. As we have seen the field shuffle almost completely, I think we've seen pretty much everybody in this race get up towards the front at one point, and we're only 14 laps in.
Absolutely. It's the nature of a racetrack like this. You see these guys just getting so close and shuffling so much. We always talk about the plate shuffle and how difficult it is to stay up front for any extended period of time at a racetrack like this. But it is really exemplified when you got so many good cars in the field, of course, this being the Bud Shootout, all these guys, pole winners and previous drivers with success, really showing their horses here tonight. And that is a lot of 3 wide in the middle of the pack as Jimmy Johnson with his teammate Brian Vickers in the 44 right behind him. Up the middle lane, Harvick and Sadler leading the top right now.
And Wimmer started to slide up in front of Jimmy Johnson there, came back down. I think he realized that he might have turned himself if he wasn't careful, but able to get back down to the bottom. Pushed by the 38 of Ryan Newman, another face in a new place this year.
Absolutely, and for Ryan Newman in that 38 car, it was really just a change of scenery that we wanted. Another driver. We got to talk to a lot of the guys who made swaps going into this year, making the move over to the 38 team with Yates, who won a lot of races last year. That car won 5 times with Casey Kane. The 12 car right in front of him is these two made that swap as Kane went over to Penske and Newman went over to Yates. It was a direct 1-to-1 seat swap, and Newman, again, really just wanted to change the scenery. Got a new team underneath him, had a lot of poles last year, couldn't quite get a win, which was really rough for him, and wanted to be able to get a checkered flag. He talks about it. I love being able to qualify so well. It's one of my best strengths, but you really want to win the points. And, of course, for Newman, with a team as good as Yates underneath him, really a better chance now than he has really ever had in his career up to this point.
Absolutely, and we saw that 38 car do a lot of winning last season. It was a story in 2005 where Casey Kane could not win to save his life. And then going into last season, it seemed like all he could do was win by the end of the year. Got, I believe, 5 wins?
That would be correct, yes.
And that 38 was as fast as anybody on their day. So if that continues going into this season, Brian Newman is absolutely a talented enough driver to take advantage of that and be a big championship contender.
Without a question, we see a lot of guys who have a chance to contend for championships this year, and always a big question, and we always love to talk about the championship early, but nonetheless, Ryan Newman in that 38 car on the outside got Tony Stewart behind him. Kyle Busch has led a couple laps in a row. Halfway in this race, couple of dodges. It's the Busch brothers leading this race as Kyle and Kurt sit up front. Brad Keselowski, who we haven't mentioned yet, he's going to go for second place down the back here. That 2 car making his first appearance up front. Got Miller Lite sponsorship back this year as Penske rejoined that coupling and rekindles that partnership with a sponsor that had been on that 2 team for quite a long time. And they rejoin the 2 team for Keselowski, who is looking primed as any to go out and win a lot of races this year, be a contender. Him and Kennington not in this race, but Keselowski with a couple of poles last year was able to qualify. We are so looking forward to seeing those 2 do a full year Cup season this year.
Absolutely, and I believe that these are 2 of the most talented rookies that we have ever seen enter this series. You know, we've talked about, the Wonder Boy, Jeff Gordon in the past, or Jimmy Johnson coming in and immediately lighting things up. These 2 are as good as any.
Without a question. We see these guys, of course, Keselowski and Kennington both coming in to replace drivers who had been released from their respective teams and immediately went out and won races for teams that were struggling. Kennington into the 81 car that had been close to DNQing a couple times, did DNQ in the start of its tenure in 2005, and then in 2006 made the move into that car mid-season and won not once but twice. And over 2 of the best drivers in the series, we saw Kurt Busch and Robbie Gordon fall victim to the Canadian, and Brad Keselowski in the 2 car, who led almost all of his debut Richmond race, only won that race thanks to Jimmy Johnson's disqualification, but was unbelievably fast from the pole in that race. Those 2 drivers, more talented than I think we've ever seen before out of drivers just starting their careers. And going out and winning races in seasons where you not only do double duty, but join in the middle of the year, nothing short of impressive for those 2.
Absolutely, and those Kennington wins, they were thrilling as well. And even though he's not in this race, he makes things exciting up there. We saw at Michigan, all the swapping of the lead, and right at the death he was able to take the lead. And for Keselowski, he proved that Richmond win wasn't a fluke. They went to Martinsville, was leading that race, ended up having a problem and then more problems after that. But both these guys, the speed isn't a fluke, and to join in the middle of the season and have that kind of speed in a brand new series, so nothing short of miraculous. And I am so excited to see what they can do.
Not without a doubt, and not to mention the fact that it's kind of beneficial for those 2 to make their true full-time debuts this season with a new car. Everybody's going to be learning, so it kind of puts you on the right foot for those 2 going into this season, in a season that they are going to be still learning, of course, those 2 making their first full years in the Cup Series, even though Kennington did more than half of the year and Keselowski did about a third. You're going to see these guys really be in an advantageous spot. This is as good of a season to be a rookie in the Cup Series as any. And for those 2, fantastic spot to be in.
For sure. Is now for the lead, we see Brian Vickers, who has been up here pretty much the entirety of this race after starting right at the back. So that 44, the winner of this race last season, looking primed again in those new Busch Light colors. Matt Kenseth behind him. Even though this isn't a points win, if Matt were to win this, it would be a really big one for him. It has been such a long time since Matt Kenseth has entered victory lane, and at this point, you want a points win, but having a trophy drought is just so demoralizing for a driver, and being able to break that could maybe open the floodgates for Matt in the future.
Absolutely looking like he wants it. He took it 3 wide for the lead going into turn 1 that time. This time off turn 4 for the race leaders. It'll be 10 laps to go here in the Budweiser Shootout. Kenseth, Gordon, Edwards, your top 3 off of turn 4 that time, and we're getting into crunch time now.
As you start to see the intensity pick up a little bit, the start of that race, everybody was kind of biding their time, getting used to the race cars, as we said, but as we're getting down to crunch time, these guys starting to make more daring, aggressive moves. We saw Robbie Gordon there look to the bottom, almost got in the quarter panel of Matt Kenseth. Robbie Gordon's no stranger to aggression. He has no problem making any move that might grab him a checkered flag. But We'll see how
Thought
that
about
works out
blocking the
for
19
him.
there. Edwards threw a huge block on Reagan, the 84 car. Ken's is still the leader into turn 3. 3 by 3 and more at the back of the field.
Truex trying to push Robbie Gordon up there on the top lane. Jeffrey Bodine behind them, who has had a very strong showing, Jeffrey Bodine has.
Yeah, making a part-time season in that Germain 7 car. Mentioned him already, one of the new teams on the grid this year. Side by side for second. Edwards trying to get down in front of Reagan, could not do it. 84 on the bottom, the only race he's going to be attempting for that 84 team this year, and he has ran really well tonight. We said he qualified second. He had a great run, and now here he comes for the race lead again.
With a push from Kevin Harvick behind him. Elliott Sadler, Scott Wimmer down there on the bottom as well.
Double file through most of the field this time. Reagan with the lead. Harvick trying to find a way up underneath him. Trying to force that 84 up the track. Couldn't do it. Reagan's got his teammate in the third lane there behind the 20. Sadler trying to get underneath Harvick, and he did. They may have made contact into turn 1 that time.
May have, but nonetheless, it's going to be Red Bull 1-2 for the moment. We'll see if Sadler tries to back up a run to get past his teammate here, or if he's just going to stick behind him. We know Sadler's hungry for a win. He got so close at points last season, and he knows that this is a good opportunity for him to grab his first win since 2001.
Leaving turn 4, Wimmer in line behind the 83, trying to get underneath him for P2. Was not quite there into the tri-oval that time. It's a Red Bull 1-2 as they head down towards turn 1 this time. Double file through the field. Everybody brewing for these final couple laps. 83 and 84 just stay in front of the 23. Sadler got a little squirmish there behind his teammate. Might have been a little air off the 23. Was very close to getting sideways. Top 3 single file down the back. It's Harvick and Kane as here comes Sadler. Gonna leave his teammate out. Looks like teamwork is out the window now.
Yeah, at this point, looks like these guys have decided, time to go for yourself. You want that trophy more than anything. And Elliott Sadler up to the point. We'll see how long that lasts. Nobody's been able to stay up front for more than a couple laps. So, if you're on the bottom lane right now, you're in a good spot. But you want to make sure that you're not leading this race for too long.
Only driver who was really able to lead any consecutive amount of laps was Kyle Busch in the 43. He's about 8th or 9th in line on the bottom. Got a long way to go, but a lot of laps left to do it. Sadler trying to moderate the pair of Pontiacs behind him. That's the 12 and 84, but Casey Kane is not going to let him keep that up, and he gets to the bottom this time for the lead in turn 3.
Kane in that 12 car trying to grab his first win for Team Penske, who's going to go up to the high side. Casey Atwood underneath him. We've talked about him so much last season, being agonizingly close to taking victory at points. Can he get it done?
Johnson trying to get underneath him. He did. What an aggressive move by that 48. He's got his teammate Jeff Gordon behind. Kane gets filtered up top 3 wide thanks to that mess into turn 1. Down the back stretch we go with 5 laps to go in this race. Johnson and Atwood pair of Chevrolets. Newman in line behind the 24 and 48. 4 wide almost as they went into turn 3. Somehow they sorted it out.
Yeah, that was very nearly an accident right there. You don't want to go 4 wide at Daytona. We talk about it all the time in the 500 with the bigger fields that 4 wide at Daytona is a recipe for disaster. They got it sorted out, but boy, was it close.
Teammates for the lead. Jeff Gordon got underneath of Jimmy Johnson. Gonna leave the 48 out to dry as they head off of turn 2, this time by 38 follows him. Labonte trying to go up high with the 48. Tony Stewart on the bottom. Kyle Busch behind him. It's anybody's game with 4 to go.
And Newman giving Jeff Gordon a big shove down into turn 3. Gordon going to be clear. Johnson is going to be beside Stewart, but Newman looks like he's going to get clear here. We'll see if Newman can make a move.
trying to find a way around this 24 car. Could not do it that time by on the start-finish line. 3 wide in the middle portion of the field. Stewart looking to maybe get underneath of Newman. He could not. Single file
Kyle
for the
Busch
top
taking
4.
a look under Stewart there.
Goodness
Very
me.
nearly contact.
Such tight racing at the front of the field. Biffle rearing his head in the top 5. Kurt Busch is in line back there as well. Big block by Ryan Newman on Tony Stewart, and it'll give him a shot at the lead.
And Tony showed the nose. Didn't look like he appreciated that too much. Almost got into him. 16. Greg Biffle almost gets into Kyle Busch, forces him up the racetrack.
Believe
Stewart
Biffle,
get underneath him.
Believe Biffle might have helped the 43 up the track. Kyle Busch trying to take it 3 wide up the middle on the 24. 2 laps to go at Daytona. Who's got what it takes to win this race?
For Stewart, he might need Biffle and Kurt Busch to get a little closer here to help him by Ryan Newman. So they're gonna get here. Newman trying to block. Biffle gonna make the move. Stewart up high. That's going to shuffle him out. Ryan Newman retains the lead down into turn 3.
Coming to the white flag this time, your race leader is Ryan Newman. Pair of Fords at the front of the field. Kurt Busch in third. Jason Leffler, we haven't mentioned him more than once all night. He's right back there in line behind the 01. White flag, 1 time to go. Last lap at Daytona.
Biffle looks like he might try to take a look here. He does. Not quite able to get underneath him, though. Ryan Newman stays out front.
Down the backstretch this time for the final time. Half a lap to go at Daytona. Does Biffle have anything for the 38? Does Kurt Busch make a move from third? He will. 01 down underneath the 16. Doesn't have any help. Newman clear out front. Trying to hold on to this thing. Can Busch make a run at him out of turn 4? Here they come to the checkered flag. Brad Keselowski behind the 01. Can Busch get underneath? He will not be able to. Ryan Newman, 1 race for his new team, and he is the winner of the 2007 Bud Shootout.
You know that's got to mean a lot for him. It's been a while since he's entered victory lane. Ryan Newman victorious here in Daytona, making that car wide, something he's known for, being able to defensive drive. And out to the win of the Budweiser Shootout. Great job for him. That's a momentum carrier.
What a victory for this 38 car as he led quite a few laps consecutively. It was 2 that he led in a row, got underneath the 24 with 3 to go, and that was the race-winning move there. That huge block he threw on Tony Stewart going into turn 3 that won him the race.
And that is a block that, could very easily send you flipping down in the grass. So a very ballsy move by Ryan Newman to get underneath him, to get underneath Jeff Gordon, and an even ballsier to see the 42 rearing up to go as well, and to do it anyways.
What a move it was. Right on board with Kyle Busch here as he got a front row seat of that block that won Newman the race. Goodness. Lucky you're clear there.
You see Stewart, he pulls out first, and Newman immediately after just doesn't even think about it. He just knows that, if I'm going to win this race, I have to throw this, and it doesn't matter what happens afterwards if I send myself spinning to the grass or if I end up making this work. But great job by Ryan Newman to not only make that move, but to retain the lead after that for a few laps in a way that we haven't really seen anybody be able to do today.
Just what a victory, and we are already starting this year off with a bang, and Ryan Newman is your winner of the 2007 Bud Shootout, and what a win for him and that Yates team. Great start for that partnership, and that concludes the opening exhibition here at Daytona. Next time out, it'll be the qualifying duels. We'll get back to you on the qualifying results in not too long from now, but that'll be coming pretty damn soon. Ryan Newman, your race winner here tonight to start off this 2007 season. I'm Caden Rife. Pleasure to have Nate along as always, and a pleasure to have you along as well. We'll catch you next time in the duels, and as always, have yourself a good one.